Hello again, everyone. Today I am here to swatch some Tim Holtz Distress watercolor pencils. These are a new product, and I have recently been getting more into the Tim Holtz products. For those of you that don't know, it's basically a whole collection of things that you can put together, sort of vintagey assemblages, and then there's ways to age stuff. And anyway, it's more my speed than sort of like the Hallmark card thing. So this is one of 3 sets. This is actually set number 2. And this one, I'm not sure I'll need to get any others because this has a really great selection of colors for me. I really like this. The one I might like is white, but so far it's fine, but I haven't done too much with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch these, and then I'm going to show you some basically some vintagey type stuff that I colored with these pencils, and it's all very subtle. So in order to actually illustrate it, I do have one that I haven't colored yet, and I figure I will do that as well. But first off, let's get in here. And this is a fairly new product, so I thought it would be good to swatch it, or swatch these, so that if you're thinking about getting them, you can see if you like them or would want to get them. Okay, so I have a pot of water off to the side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it dry. So just dry, what it looks like dry, and then I'm going to show what it looks like dry and then wetting it with a brush. And then I'm going to try getting it straight from the pencil with a wet brush. It'll make more sense when you start seeing what I'm doing. I think I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, and I will show you the colors. I will tell you what the colors are as we go along. And for those of you that are familiar with the whole Distress line from Tim Holtz, these are in the same colors, or some of the same colors. So you can coordinate these with that. That wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. I just kind of wanted to try out new watercolor pencils, because who doesn't like watercolor in pretty much any any way. I think these are pigmented as opposed to dye-based. So they are a little bit opaque, and what was I going to say? Oh, but I don't think they're permanent. Although it seems like they, unless you put a ton of water on them, they're going to kind of stay where they are. All right, so this first color is Kat Flamingo. So I'm just going to do a dry swatch here. I'm not going to press too hard, just so that you can see what it's going to look like. And I'll put this closer up to the camera as well. I'll try and make these a little bit bigger. Okay, and I'm doing another dry swatch so that I will then swipe with water. And so let's go ahead and do that. I'm just using a Princeton round number 5 brush. You can also use a water brush. In the examples that Tim Holtz had on his website, he did use a water brush. Okay, so this one is really subtle, but it is a very light color, so that is not unexpected. And now what I'm going to do, I'll show you. I'm just going to wet the color itself on the pencil and see how that goes. Oh, that's actually more pigmented than if I had than what I did with the water. And I'm going to try and be even with these as far as how much color I add each time. Okay, and this next one is Barn Door. Okay, I have to remember what I'm doing. Okay, so let's first do the dry, which you can totally use them just dry if you want. And this is my first time swatching these. I've used them a little bit, but I have not swatched them out yet. All right, and again, I'm going to add water to that. Oh, these actually re-wet really nicely and flow really nicely. That first one is just really a pale color, which I like, the fact that it's really pale. And then again, I am wetting the tip of the pencil And there you go. So you can get kind of a different look depending on what you do. All right. This next one is Spiced Marmalade. Really nice orange color. And part of why I like these colors is because they're not, they're somewhat subtle colors, which I like. Not too subtle, but subtle enough. All right. So let's get in here with the water brush. And again, it just really takes a little bit to then pull it out. And you can see a little bit of the mark underneath. But if you don't want to get that, you can just simply rub your paintbrush on the stick itself. And there's no wood in these, so the whole thing is pigment basically. Okay, and then the next one is Fossilized Amber. Very nice warm yellow. Okay, pull from that. But yeah, these work really well. I'm pretty impressed with them as far as being, you know, contenders for other watercolor pencils. Now, I don't know how archival they are. I would hope that they would be archival. Man, you can just get a ton of pigment off of there just by rubbing on the stick itself. This next one is Cracked Pistachio, which is sort of a teal color. I think I'm just gonna do this one. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's gonna be 2 that are sort of all by their lonesome. All right. And like before, this is a smaller brush so that I'm not like completely flooding it with water. This is kind of a pale color. But because I'm not taking any of the water off my brush once I put water on it. But if I were using a bigger brush, I would definitely do that. I wouldn't want to flood it. And that's a really beautiful subtle green. And you will see why that's so handy. Okay, so the next one is Twisted Citron or Citron. Citron? I don't know. So let's go ahead and get in there. This is a really nice bright green. But like I said, there are 2 other sets. And so far, you know, this is the one that appeals to me, and I don't really have any plans of getting the other 2, but we'll see. We'll see, never say never. Okay, and I'm trying to be fairly even with that for each one. And I do re-wet the brush with water before I do the direct from the stick thing. Okay, so this next one is Mermaid Lagoon. Just making sure the prior color is all out of my brush. This is a nice one. I think I have this one in a distress ink pad. Lovely. I really like the subtleness of these. Like, it's not just like bam pigment, you know, it's like these are going to be really useful for, especially for like coloring in. I don't usually do that with watercolor pencils, but maybe I'll try. Okay, so I'm getting a pretty decent amount of water and then rubbing quite a few times. And it seems like you can get more concentrated by doing that, as opposed to the putting down the dry and then putting water over. This next one is Iced Spruce, which I really, really like as a color for the other products that I've used in this color. All right, yeah, nice, nice. And one of the nice things is that these look really, really nice on vintagey papers, vintage color papers. You know, I just realized I did not turn my overhead light on. Probably would like that, huh? You're not getting the glare, but you're definitely not getting as much light as you could be. So let me reach over. There we go. Ooh, everything's gonna fall off now. Let me stop that from wobbling. Okay, there you go. And these dry really fast here because it's Colorado and everything dries fast. But if you're concerned about your crayons being wet and kind of like contaminating other colors, don't put them back in the case right away when you've wet them. Just leave them off to the side. This is Prize Ribbon, which is a beautiful blue color. Again, I really don't know that I would have a need for any other colors than these. Lovely, really, really beautiful. And they just released, well, not just, but fairly recently, they released a color called something Mariner, which is also a blue, which is really, really nice as well. Uncharted Mariner, that's what it is. Okay. And, oh wow, look at that. Beautiful blue. Okay. And then this next one is called Seedless Preserves. I'm gonna put that up a little bit. Sort of a, it's definitely a purple, but it's more of a like a reddish, maroonish purple. Okay, let's see what I can get out of that. Dip my brush. Oh, lovely. Really, really lovely. I think I'm gonna use that in my little demo that I'm gonna do here. And once again, just brushing on. And when I'm going to do the little demo, I'm just going to use pigment taken off of the pencil with the brush because I don't want to use too much. Okay, so this next one is Antique Linen. I'm just going to go here. Antique Linen is one of those colors that I thought, well, what am I going to use that for? Because it's kind of light, but it actually is really useful. It's very similar to parchment in the Liquitex Golden or the Liquitex acrylic brand. It's very similar to that, so it kind of creates like an aged paper look. All right, and then once again, doing the straight off of the pencil. And, you know, some of these colors are going to be more subtle than others. And then one of my favorites in the ink pads that I have from them, Vintage Photo. Let me make sure I got all that color off. So this is sort of a brown, a warm brown that works really great for aging and distressing edges, which you'll see in my little examples. I'll show you. Yeah, nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. And then straight from the pencil. And again, you're getting that little bit of glare now that I added the light, but I will hold these up to the camera at an angle so that you are not getting that glare. All right, and that is the last one. So I'm going to put all these back in their little containers, put my brush off to the side here, and then I'm going to show these to you closer up. Really love this subtle pink. And these are completely dry. They do have like a little bit of a, they're very, very matte basically. So they feel very matte. They're not slick at all. And doesn't seem like even Doesn't seem like even the dried is rubbing off. Although let's see, let's use the red as an example because it's pretty, like, will it smudge? It smudges a little bit. The dry smudges a little bit, but not a whole lot. And this iced spruce, which is basically a greenish gray, definitely one that's going to come in very handy. And it's nice to have a couple of neutrals. And even though I don't have white in here, I mean, this is sort of a neutral-ish, close to white. It's more, you know, it's a little bit like titanium buff from Daniel Smith in watercolors. When it's wetted out. When it's dry, it looks a little more green. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these off to the side here. And then I'm going to bring out... So you're going to say, what are you doing, lady? These are these are tiny little faux postage that I have been, let me zoom in a little bit, that I've been making in fodder school. Super fun. And I've kind of gone a variety of directions with it. This is mostly with little like cut papers and stuff. Some of it is from Tim Holtz. But so I'll show you the mushroom one first. So these mushrooms, when they, let's see if I can get that to focus. These mushrooms were the same color as the background here. So sort of that beigey color. And then I added barn door and then some parchment on the stems. So it's very subtle, but it's very, very effective, I think, for little vintagey things like this. Okay, so this one is a butterfly. So the butterfly was the same color as the paper behind. And then this one, what did I use? I think I used the orange one, the marmalade color for that one. And then this one was with iced spruce. The middle of the 5 was the same color as the background here, and I just used that iced spruce color to fill in the 5, which I think looked really cool. And then this one, so this bottom part here, field label, that was the same color as the background paper. And I added iced spruce again here, and it really created a nice sort of vintagey color that's not super bright, but would be on something like that. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then with this one, I also used, did I use iced spruce again? I think I did. I clearly like that one for the wing. And all of these were the same color as the background. And then I added the pink color, the flamingo color, to these little winged insects there. And then I only added a tiny bit of mermaid lagoon to the bird. And before I did that, the bird was the same color as the background. So in order to kind of illustrate this, here, I'll just keep these, I'll keep these over here. I am going to use this one. So this one actually has a little bit, like the individual butterflies and the caterpillar are all slightly different than the background, but you'll see when I add the color from these pencils, I'm actually going to use a super tiny brush. This is a number 1 from Cosmotop Spin by Da Vinci, so that I can get a really tiny amount. So what was I saying? I was going to use the purple. So I'm just going to, oops, let's put these off to the side here. So I'm just going to pull from the stick while it's in the pan. And then let's go with this butterfly here. And I'm holding it up, so it's a little bit more unsteady than I'm adding more water because that seemed a little bright to me actually. Because I just kind of want a little bit of color, but not crazy. Okay. But you can see like just that little bit of color really created a big impact on the wing. Like I said, I'm holding this up, so it's a little bit, I'm not entirely in the lines, but see, I mean, that's just so cute. And so let's give it a brown body. Let's use that vintage photo. That was a little too much. I'm going to dab that off with a paper towel that I have off to the side here. And that worked pretty well. So there you go. Let's do the little caterpillar with the green. Let's do that. What was that color? That is Twisted Citron. And trying to steady my hand there. See, but just that little bit of color really adds a lot of dimension. Let's go ahead and do the other two while we're here. So what have we used? Let me use Prize, what is that, Prize Ribbon? Prize Ribbon. Yeah, and I won't need a lot of that because it is really intense. So I'm just gonna pull from what I have over there. Like, these are gonna last forever because I'm not gonna use a ton. Actually, I do need a little bit more. And if you put too much on like that, it seems like dabbing works really, really well for just pulling up some of the color. And then again, I kind of went outside the lines, but okay, let's do one last one. And let's do that in, let's do this yellow. What is the yellow? The yellow is Fossilized Amber. And once again, don't need much at all for these little tiny things. But like I said, it really creates a lot of impact. Let me add a little bit of that brown to the other bodies here. And then I'm gonna dab that off again. There we go. Really, really nice. For some reason, my camera's not focusing too well. But obviously, if I was doing this on the table, my hand would be much more secure. I just wanted you to be able to see it. And I don't think, I'm not really able to move it much once it's on there. It'll move a little. It'll move a little if I wanted to kind of correct some of the lines there. But I just thought this was really kind of neat. Really the only reason why I even tried it on these vintage, well, they're not true vintage papers, they're like faux vintage papers, was because I was making these stamps, these faux stamps, and I thought, you know, this might be a perfect thing for that. And as it turns out, they are. So these are also, the paper underneath was a brownish paper, but I have aged these with the Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink pad. That one is not, and neither is this one. This one is aged with that same ink pad, but the two papers were slightly different colors to begin with. And then this was also aged with the ink pad, and this was not. So you can kind of see the difference here. That's what the original paper kind of looked like underneath here. And then, you know, you get the aged look. I'm not sure, you know, this is for this class, you know, will I continue to do this kind of stuff longer term? And it's not that I don't consider, I mean, it's not that this isn't high art. This is like more crafty, I would say, than high art. But you know, not everything you do has to be high art. And if you enjoy it, go ahead. But I've really been enjoying these, and I've really noticed that I really like working small. So I think what I might do, because these were all kind of with stickers and rub-on transfers and little faux vintagey papers and stamps. Did I say stamps already? I don't know. So it's kind of with that kind of stuff. But what I've been thinking actually, and this was just because I put a little piece of paper as a background, because these are actually our distress ink backgrounds behind here, just sort of sprayed with different colors. When I did that with one, it looked a lot like a landscape. So I've actually been thinking, and I could probably crank these out pretty fast, that I could make little landscapes with this size. So the for a while I was using pinking shears to make the edges of the stamp, but then I did go ahead and get a die cut for that. And the die cut does look a little classier, I must say. So I'll just crank out a few of those. I only have these two sizes. I have this little square one and then this rectangular one. And, you know, with this, you could go this way or this way. Both would work well for a landscape, and this one's square, obviously. So I might try that. If I do try it, I will show them on the channel and let you know how it goes. And I would do those probably in watercolor, just because I'm very comfortable with watercolor landscapes, and then I think it'll be really fun to work small. And tiny little marks on small things like this make such a big impact, which I really like as well, because you can also make a ton of them in the same amount of time that it would take to make like one bigger thing or something like that. All right, well, that's all I had for you today. So far, I'm really liking these distress watercolor pencils. We'll see, you know, I'll give an update if I have any different thoughts on them as I use them over time, but it seems like these are going to last forever because they have a ton of pigment in them. And we'll see. I mean, if I want other colors, I might get the other ones, but I don't think I'll need them. Again, this is set 2. So, and there are 3 sets. All right. And it seemed like set number 1 was already pretty sold out. I don't know why. Maybe that was sort of like the basic colors. All right. Well, that's all I have for you today. Feel free to subscribe to keep track of future videos on my channel. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. I hope to see you next time, but in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks. Bye.